Ahoy, hoy, founders. Here is a DF General strategy question for you. Do you have any ambitions for growing your audience base? What new types of viewers would you like to engage with? And through what types of content? Or are you quite satisfied with your current viewership and aim to maintain the status quo? Thanks! Exclamation point. I'm quite interested in your thoughts about this. Let's start with John.
Man, 2 Simpsons references in one question. I love it. Right. So my feeling is that obviously I do want to grow the audience. I'd like to find more people, but I don't want to grow it by changing drastically what we do. I want to more like figure out how to make what we do bigger, find more ways to do it more often and to do it better, as opposed to just changing. Because I feel like there's sometimes I've seen examples where a creator might try to chase like a broader crowd and they end up changing the way their content works, which ends up sort of not only does it isolate some of the original people that really enjoyed the content, but it also becomes something that you don't want to make. This is why, like in the case, one of my friends posted a video once totally unrelated to his normal stuff. It was like an update on something else. And somehow that went viral and it got tons of views. So you got tons of subscribers coming in. But then like people were mad when the next videos weren't that. So he had to make another video basically like, look, this is what I'm doing here. Like if you came for this other type of content, that's not what this channel is. Right. And that is, as a business, maybe that's not always the thing, but I feel like it's important to maintain what you're good at and what you like to do, but then find ways to grow that naturally in a way that hopefully finds more people. And growing the audience doesn't have to be just changing what you do, right? It's finding ways to get yourself out there there will be people that would probably enjoy the content we make that just don't know about it yet. And hopefully we can find those people and bring them over. That would be the best thing I'd like to see.
Well, Alex, I think it's no real secret that we want to do more with PC, which is basically fully in line with what John's saying there, which is to say that, we want to do more of the stuff that we think is going to resonate with the audience and where we can be of service. And, if you look at the sort of skew of content between the various pillars that Digital Foundry has, consoles is getting more attention than PC when, well, let's face facts. It's no real secret that the PC addressable audience on YouTube is much higher than it is for consoles. So it's just like a logical expansion at that point.
Right.
Any thoughts?
So I've thought about this a lot. I think the people who are really hardcore are into us from like the games perspective because we're covering games in a longer form fashion and talking about it. But I don't think that necessarily resonates with every PC player out there. And I think that's fine because niche interests are part of life. But what I think does interest a lot of people is how a game runs on release and how can I get it to run better. And for us, I think just getting that knowledge about our videos out on YouTube is actually a challenge via just using the service itself. Sometimes it feels a bit random, algorithmically. Sometimes a game, if you don't get the video out at launch, that is another thing that will make the video less successful and your audience doesn't grow as a result of that. Like usually if we get a video right out at launch, it's almost guaranteed to do pretty darn well, actually, just because a lot of people are curious right at launch or even just shortly before launch. So for that, I really think to do that, I've talked about this before, but I do need another person helping our hands. Like console side, we got John, Oliver, and of course, Tom working those videos generally really consistently. And so that's 3 people that you can split up a workload on of games. For a PC release, it is me. And then Rich can occasionally help me out. But Rich has a lot of other stuff to do. So I think we really need like another PC person just to make sure we have resources.
Who does, helps you out with settings. And
yes, of course. Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah, of course. Don't want to forget him. Because he's helped the last 2 videos, and then an Avatar in last year he helped with too, which was really great. And I just need like more hands. But also another thing I think that would really help is that YouTube, like I said, is kind of limiting to just like algorithmically who can find us. And I always feel like we need better, like someone needs to know on some other channel, like YouTube, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. I have no idea what it is, but there's just got to be some other way to get someone to say, hey, wait, there's an entire video about this game that just came out and how it's going to run on my PC. I feel like we could reach an audience there by just advertising to them in some way. I don't know. I'm talking about this in a more of like less of a, because I think what we make is great. I'm talking about like, how do we get that audience to us? And that's hard. That's harder.
Yeah, ultimately it's about content and, basically building the audience in the same way that we did with consoles. And I honestly think that PC, the potential is for growth there is much higher without taking anything away from what we currently do. I mean, it's just a sound investment, and that goes for hardware, which I'm really passionate about, and the software side of things that you're really passionate about. And, we've got some formative plans to do things. And now that Reed Exhibitions is out of the picture and we're partnered with IGN, we've got a more receptive partner to make some of this stuff happen. And we got to talk about retro. There's
I mean that's really big to me. I want to do it justice because it's the passion content. It's the stuff that I enjoy making the most, but it also requires far and away the most amount of time to do right. The story isn't always obvious. It takes a long time to make those videos, and I would really like to find ways to get more people to help me make this stuff happen, because I can't do it by myself unless that was all I did. And even then it would still not be enough. It's hard to keep up with that kind of stuff. And I want to do it better and do it more often again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the reason I put this question down on the docket is that essentially everything that we've just told you is exactly what we told IGN when the acquisition happened. And, it was just great to have people that fully understood what we were saying and why it made sense. Mm-hmm. So, fingers crossed that we can actually get some of these plans rolling, because there's so much that we want to do. And, obviously we would hope to see the audience base grow, but it is just about achieving the goals that we've set out in terms of content, thinking about it more in terms of what we want to do as creators, as opposed to an end game of increasing the audience, which, hopefully one would lead to the other.
Right.
But yeah, you can just see that, you just look at the video list on Digital Foundry. If we consider that there are three pillars, not pillows.
Maybe there's three pillows too.
There could be
three body pillows.
Well.
The rich body.
The rich body pillow.
It's consoles, retro, and PC, and we've kind of tapped out on consoles. I'm not really sure there's much more we can do or should be doing there, and certainly not until new stuff arrives. But then there's retro and PC, which I think are massive growth areas for us, and which we're all really excited about doing stuff for. And when we're going back to PC, if we are looking at a future where, I think it's fairly self-evident that Microsoft at least will be sort of bringing PC and consoles closer together than ever before, then absolutely we need to be there. Any final thoughts on that beyond what I've just said?
I started, it got sidetracked by other things, but I have started working on another retro video with another one directly to follow after that, which means hopefully the Sunsoft one will go public soon.
That'd be great.
I want to hype that up again, because I feel like the Sunsoft video is one of my favorite videos I think I've ever made. Just because we got access to things that normally you wouldn't get access to. Mm-hmm. And it allowed me to tell that whole story about like the entirety of Sunsoft, all from the very beginning all the way up to the end, and look at virtually every single game by and large.
That's a big one. Yeah,
it was a ton of work, but I'm really happy with how it turned out, and it's definitely one I'm extremely proud of. Mm-hmm. So I hope people enjoy it when it does.
And the one you're working on sort of now is also looking quite exciting.
I can just go ahead and say it. Why not?
Yeah.
Because basically this was your idea. It was like, what if we just apply like the Digital Foundry, like, hey, multi-platform comparison idea to classic Saturn and PlayStation stuff? Because I've often talked, Saturn and PlayStation, I think, is one of the most exciting eras for multi-platform, because the hardware was so fundamentally different that making games work across them both would often expose the strengths and weaknesses in a way that's super cool. And as a result, you have a wide range. There is no clear winner in the end. There are some games that are much better on Saturn, some that are much better on PlayStation, and then others that are good enough on both. And so I'm going to try this one first. We've picked a bunch of games for the initial run, but this could be something I could revisit, like as like a comparison series, you know, where it's like Saturn versus PlayStation, you know, the next chapter, and then maybe do a different console versus a different one. And it's a slightly different form of retro, just in the way that I plan to tell it. But I'm really happy with what I've captured so far, and it's fun to see those things side by side, and hopefully it'll be enjoyable.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, look out for that, because I'm quite excited about it, certainly.
And then
the
N64
stuff
after that too. Will happen. Will happen. It's in the works. But yes,
I was just thinking back to the Saturn versus PlayStation, and I was thinking about how great the Lobotomy games were, and I was thinking also back to an interview I did with Ezra Dweisbach, who was the tech genius, I guess you could call him, at Lobotomy Software, and he actually did a version of Death Tank for the Sega Saturn.
Interesting.
No, for the Xbox 360. That's right.
Right. That's what it was.
And we did an interview in 2009 with him, and it was quite depressing actually, because you know I was really interested in hearing his thoughts on the Saturn and how great it was and the results he got. And I'm just looking at the interview now, and he's using language I don't think you'd even use in the modern era. But
oh gosh!
But he was so down on the Saturn. It's kind of miraculous that the games they did were as good as they were. But yeah, I'm sure people will be googling Death Tank Ezra Dweisbach Eurogamer. And he's definitely
see some
an eye-opening
words.
interview.